Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Muhammad. My metric number 1181735. Today, me and my friend will share about our favorite word or our favorite verses from the Al-Quran from our point of view. First, I will share about introduction in this topic. In our journey in this dunya, we will facing various of feeling as a human being, such as sad, happy, anger, loneliness, and sometimes when we facing the bad situation in this life, it will make all of us sad and crying. The second, when the happy time or good news come to us, we will turn to be happy and smile. And the main question is why this feeling or situation need to be happen in our life. Why? And the reason is the feeling a blessing from Allah to us in order to understand the meaning of the creator Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala and the creation to overcome this various feeling in order to be grateful and thankful to Allah, although we have many obstacles and challenges in our daily life. Our life got so many problems and hardship situation, and sometimes we keep questioning why this thing happen to us, why this thing happen to us. But we can encounter this feeling and keep feeling thankful to Allah within many ways from Islamic perspective. For example, we reading the Quran and take one verse from Al-Quran or one surah from the Al-Quran and make it to be our advice and motivational quote in this life. Because of what? Because in Islam, the Holy Quran is just not a sacred book for Muslim to read, but it will be our guiding and friend in this life and the hereafter. So, for me, I have used this verse from Surah Al-Imran verse 185 in my daily life and in my second daily of life. Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut wa innama tuwaffuna ujurakum yawmal qiyamah faman zuhziha 'anil nari wa udkhilal jannah faqad faza wa mal hayatad dunya illa mata'ul ghurur. Sadaqallahu azim. So, this is my favorite verse in the Holy Quran, and I have made this verse as my motivational word and favorite advice in my daily life. From this verse, I can get three main points, which is first point is every people in this world shall facing to death, and none of us will escape from this fate. It will facing by every person without looking to their race, religion, and background, whether he or she from Jewish, Christianity, Islam, neither poor or rich shall taste the deeds. Therefore, when I want to do bad thing or commit a sin in my daily life, I will remember and avoid to commit a sin because of this verse, which is kullu nafsin za'iqatul maut. So, for the second point on this verse, that I will fill out the meaning and the translation from this verse. We are responsible on our every deeds and action in this dunya. Doing a noble and good action will be rewarded to paradise, and if us committing a bad action will be punished and enter to the hell. This is Allah promise, not a human promise, not my promise, not our lecture promise, but this is Allah promise. Allah promise and reward to us. And the most important thing we need to take a highlighted that Allah never break the promise and do not break the promise like human being. So next, I will explain the most lovely phrase in this verse, which is the meaning, the life of this world is nothing but enjoyment of deception. The word and meaning beyond of this phrase has answered a lot of my questions about this life and make me feel thankful in every aspect of my daily life and routine. This world is nothing for us. It's just a test from Allah to Muslim, whether we want to accept the truth or disobey from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Such as, we always look for other advantage such as wealthy, grace, and feel insecure, but never being thankful to Allah because Allah do not punish us because being a sinner and not being thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is my words. Then I will pass my presentation to my friend, and I hope my words can remind me and all of you to you be a very taqwa to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Now I will introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Nur Yasin bin Jamilan, and my metric number is 1181754. And today I will present from my part. My part is Surah Al-Insyirah verse 5. I will read the surah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Fa inna ma'al usri yusra. The meaning is, so verily, with every difficulty there is relief. I will explain about the Surah Al-Insyirah. Surah Al-Insyirah acts as a form of consolation and encouragement for Muslims. It intends to boost up the morale of believers, especially if they are going through dark and gloomy phases. In this surah, Allah declares beautifully, indeed, with every difficulty come relief. He repeats it to emphasize the message. Allah demands us to turn all attention to Him and worship Him alone. To appreciate the beauty of this verse, we first need to understand the exact meaning of the verse. In this verse, Allah uses the word relief in plural form. This implies that relief is always twice as powerful as difficulties or suffering. As such, no matter how trying the times may be, hardship can never overwhelm Allah's blessings. This verse is especially relevant in today's context. The Muslim Ummah is struggling and suffering all around the world. We need to remind ourselves of Allah's promise to us and stick to the right path. After all, with every difficulty, there is relief. So, from this verse, is very give some impact or some big effect in my life. Meaning from this verse is relation to believe that every difficulty we face it must have relief or pleasure. This the meaning of this verse. Why this verse related in my life? Because I sometimes was in trouble, and I use this surah from and verse number 5 to remember and believe that every difficulty it has the pleasure, and moreover I'm involved with the association and I need a sentence that can calm my soul. So I use this verse to feel the peace in me. That's why this verse is related and very important to my life. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name Man Hakimi bin Muhammad Zaini. My metric number 1181744. Inshallah, I will present my verse Surah Al-Isra 27 verse 27. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن المبذرين كانوا إخوان الشياطين وكان الشيطان لربه كفورا صدق الله العظيم. Meanings: indeed, the wasteful are brothers of the devils, and ever has Satan been to his Lord ungrateful. From the verse above, it can be concluded that those who are extravagant and wasteful are the brothers of Satan, even though Satan is very disobedient to his God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. As for this verse is a continuation of the previous verse where it is mentioned that so people do not waste their wealth wastefully and give it for useful things. And so we know that wasteful was a bad deed. There are many types of wasteful, such as wasting food, wasting money, wasting time, and so on. Many people nowadays are less attention to this kind of action or deed because can lead to weakness from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala regarding to wasteful as same as ungrateful to Him. The reason why I chose this verse for guidelines for my life was because I almost thinking and look at the other people who was below me, which mean not much basic needs, food, money, and so on. Some of people nowadays sometimes never look down of people below themselves, even they had much of basic needs and more. In fact, they always thinking or feel not enough. I would like to give one situation for example. This is the most practices that I implemented in my life, which is whenever I go to the restaurant and order a plate of rice, it is compulsory for me to not left behind my food without finish it clearly. Plus, if I'm seeing someone else from my friends or family members cannot finish their food properly, I will remind them, or else I would like to finish it on behalf of them. That's why before we order something, we must order properly and not too much, because we as a human had a limit, as been shown by our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Stop before fullness. That's all from me. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Rabbani bin Masduki. My metric number is 1181741. Okay, today I will explain about Surah Al-Imran, verse 200. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اصبروا وصابروا ورابطوا واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون. صدق الله العظيم. Meaning, O you who believe, be patient and excel in patience and remain steadfast and be careful of your duty to Allah, that you may be successful. Okay, next, in the verse, it's explained about the verse where Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala want us to the diligent and patient in upholding the truths. In addition, we must have patience beyond the patience of the enemies of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. The patience of the believers overcomes the patience of the unbelievers. Believers remain patient in any situation, although the enemies of God are patient doing something, but the believers are more patient than they are. In addition, in patience, Believers are also stronger than their enemies. Okay, next. The original Arabic word is sabiru. This has two meaning. One is whenever they are in confrontation with unbelievers. The believers should endure even greater hardship for their cause and display a higher degree of fortitude than the unbelievers. The other is that the believers should try to excel one another in facing the opposition and hostility of unbelievers with courage and fortitude. Okay, and then from the verse, we as believer not only oppose external enemies, but they are also oppose internal enemies. Okay, moreover, they are more capable of resisting the enemy in the soul or chest. The same is true in dealing with enemies among human beings themselves. Believers are always calling and fighting. If the enemies fight patiently, then they also fight patiently. Okay, next, if the enemy is strong, then they are strong. The enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is earnestly determined to annihilate them. Then they are also earnestly determined to annihilate the enemies of God. Okay, in the end, only the believers remain more patient than the infidels or enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Although the force is patient, strong and advanced, but the believers is more patient and more able to stay on the paths of jihad. Jihad which mean is berjuang. Berjuang di jalan Allah. That's right. Must have more patience and ability to continue in his struggles. However, the believers will definitely jihad everywhere. So we in our life, we need to jihad to Allah everywhere, no matter the time and place. Thus, they continue to jihad against disbelief, jihad everywhere. Thus, they continue to jihad against disbelief through dakwah, jihad calling to maintain Islam, and jihad exposing evil in zuruf al-munasabah. They always continue to jihad everywhere. If the Islamic State already exists, then the believers and the armies of Islam will jihad to defend Islam in every corner. Okay, lastly, as we all know, the following verse describe the believer's patience and how he managed to keep it. Moreover, we must continue to be careful when we doing something or fulfilling our obligations to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because if we manage to manage and follow to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will success in our life, or future life. So that's all from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Bahaki Bezali and my metric number is 118179. Today I will present about the philosophy of life in Al-Quran. For this subject is test of philosophy. Now we go to the first slide. The first slide, I take from the philosophy of life in the Quran. I take from the Surah An-Nahl, verse 125. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wa maw'izatin hasanah wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan inna rabbaka huwa a'lamu biman dalla an sabili wa huwa a'lamu bil muhtadin. Sadaqallahu azim. This means, O Prophet, go to the way of your Lord with wisdom and godly exhortation, and reason with them in the best manner possible. Certainly, your Lord knows best who has strayed away from his path, and He also knows the two who are guided to the right way. The second slide, then from what I get from the Surah An-Nahl, verse 125, tell to us, first, a call to preach wisely and spread the truth. That means, like we know, we as the Muslim, we must to respond the call from the Prophet Muhammad to spread the da'wah of the truth. Second, in Surah have a perfect guide for person to live and worthy life. Third, from this surah can also some people have responsive and positive to the work in Islam. From the work of Bil Hikmah, same what the Al-Farabi say. He say the great ethnic who materialize this knowledge, that means philosophy, call it knowledge of wisdom or great wisdom. Learning it was called knowledge, while mastering it was called philosophy. That's meaning to deepen and love the great wisdom. And the last one, conclusion from our philosophy of life in Quran say, in our philosophy of life depend only on the call addressed in the Quran and Sunnah. So we should never go against what is addressed in the two sources. Also, we must to understand and practice all the things contained in the Quran because it can influence our philosophy of life. I think that's all for me. Thank you.